Okay, so Batman. Damn, does DC need the Batman? I got to tell you, right now, as it stands, the Batman Part 1 is, it looks like it's going to end up making more money than Superman. That's not necessarily a surprise. Most DC fans would tell you Batman outsells Superman pretty much consistently. That makes sense. He's got a lot more international appeal. It's kind of funny, man. For as much as Superman might not want to hear it, people tend to prefer the more cutthroat, bloodthirsty billionaires as opposed to these farm boy Scouts, lucky-go-lucky motherfuckers, man. I mean, it just is what it is. We want our billionaires. Hell yeah. Okay, anyway, point is, Batman's really popular. DC, Superman, doing fine. Not necessarily setting the world on fire. And I think if you're Zaslav, if you're Warner Brothers, you're thinking, more. How do we get more? How do we get more money? How do we get people to be more excited about the DCU? Batman's the obvious answer, okay? There were reports 2 years ago, which James Gunn debunked, even though we found out they were real. That knucklehead James, you know? There were reports years ago in the Hollywood trades that Gunn wanted Battinson as the DCU Batman. In fact, he had approached Matt about it, and Matt basically said, no way, fam. No way. However, there were a lot of other rumors that persisted for those years, and it seemed like maybe there was something happening there. You know, Matt would, give a little bit more weird answers. Gunn would continue to say, never say never and shit like that in interviews. On top of that, a lot of other insiders have reported about this. Jeff Snyder had a good bit about this. Grace Randolph has talked about this. A lot of people think that Battinson has a serious chance of still being the DCU Batman. Well, check this out. It's on the screen right here for you. It says over here in the corner, major floods causes suffering. Okay, and this is on the news during the kaiju fight. And the thing that's kind of wild about that is there's not any flooding in the Superman movie. There is flooding, though, in the Batman Part 1, okay? On top of that, later on in the film, there's a scene on the bridge when people are trying to evacuate, and you can see one of the exits goes towards Gotham, okay? Kind of interesting. On top of that, I think it's track number 7 on the soundtrack. You guys double-check me on this. Track number 7, it's the scene in which the crazy president of Bileklavoc or whatever, says his little statement and goes into his room, and then he meets in the portal. He goes in the portal. The music there is so clearly the Batman. It feels like it's very similar to the theme. And a lot of folks, when that track first leaked, thought, oh, shit, I wonder if they're going to have something Gotham, something Batman in here, because that track obviously sounds like the soundtrack to the Batman. Now, that didn't actually happen. There's no signs of Batman or Gotham at all in that sequence, which is kind of unfortunate. But there's enough here to at least speculate. Wow, I wonder if Gunn was setting this up to potentially make that happen. Now, it reminds me a little of when, back in the day for the MCU, Kevin Feige was trying to get Oscorp Tower into the skyline of the Avengers movie, and then they were going to have the Avengers Tower in the skyline for the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Real talk. They were trying to work this out. And instead of it being like a hard canon connection, it was maybe more of like just a little tease, a little nod, you know what I mean? A little wink behind the camera, okay? So maybe that's what this is, where Gunn's just like, hey, I want it to feel connected. You know, maybe this is a fun little thing. Or potentially he was setting something up, hoping that Matt would be like, yes, do it. And then it didn't happen. That has happened a lot in Marvel's history as well. So, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things. I would love to know what you guys think. Like, do you think that this was done intentionally? Do you think this was Gunn being like, hey, man, I got a track. I got Gotham in the news. It connects to the movie. Like, hey, Matt, like, what do you think? Hey, Matt, what do you think? You know? And then Matt basically said no. And then they're like, okay, well, we got to use this track. We got to put this in the background, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not really sure. But there's a lot of signs here, and there's the whole last couple of years with all the conversation around it, okay? And I think at the end of the day, man, I saw some people on Twitter, like, I forget who it was. There was another really popular Twitter account, and she was talking about her dad. And right after this movie, her dad was like, okay, so when's he going to team up with Battinson and all that sort of stuff? And her response was like, oh, they're actually in different universes, this, that, second, and third. And she said her dad just glazed over and was like, what the fuck? And that's what it is, chat. That's what it is. Like, a lot of us over here are like, I actually can't perfectly picture Matt Reeves' more gritty street-level Batman in the fantastical universe that James Gunn has just established. I would actually prefer if they're branch realities, separate universes, elseworlds, if you will. And I gotta tell you guys, there's a whole bunch of normal-ass people that are like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not gonna work. Like, I remember years ago, after watching Rogue One with my family during Christmas time, my mom, dead ass, we get out of dinner, my mom's like, but where was Ray? Guys, they're damn sure not watching these streams. They're damn sure not watching channels like The Den of Nerds. They don't know what the fuck's going on here. Okay? So I would say Gunn's instinct on this is correct. 2 years ago, he wanted these two universes merged. I think he still wants it. I still think it's the move. I personally think it is worth some of the messiness for fans like us, where we're going to be like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, look at how advanced Lex is. Wayne Enterprise doesn't seem to be doing shit, you know? Gunn's better off pissing all of us off and having us make videos and you know, get butthurt or whatever, and then having people like my mom or that chick's dad be like, yes, Batman and Superman together, I understand it. Like, that is a better outcome, right? So I still think that's the move. However, here's the reality, man. Like, here's the reality. I don't think Gunn can actually force this. Maybe if Superman was already at 500, like if it was at 500 today, maybe, like, legitimately, maybe they could force it. Like, they could be like, hey, Zaslav, hey, Matt Reeves, hey, Robert, like, hello, like, look at this box office, motherfucker, like, don't you want to come chill? Maybe they could force it that way. These numbers to me do not, like, if I were Matt Reeves and I did not want this, I don't think the box office and the success of Superman is going to make me want to be a part of it. Maybe I'm wrong, man. Because here's the reality. Like, Gunn has been out there talking about this week. He's speaking as though Brave and the Bold is still happening. He is speaking as though Brave and the Bold is getting its script worked on right now. He talks about Matt Reeves' Batman, but when he talks about DC, he's like, Peacemaker Season 2, Lantern, Supergirl, and then, you know, we've got Wonder Woman, we're working on it right now, which he finally admitted, which it just shows that, like, I think Gunn is really playing ball with Zazie. I really think they're trying to do this thing. They're satisfied with what's going on. They're going to try to work together here. And credit to both of them, right? Gunn right now is speaking as though there is a DCU Batman, a more fantastical Batman that is on the horizon. So even though I hate it, to me, the best option is bring Battinson in, okay? But let's say that's impossible. Let's say Matt Reeves is just like, I'm not going to do that. Okay? If the best option is off the table, the second best option is to let Matt Reeves do his thing. You get one more movie. You're going to get your part 2, Matt, and then we cannot wait any longer. You're not going to get a trilogy. Matt, do your thing. Give us part 2. We love the script. The DCU will try to support your Batman while building Wonder Woman and Supergirl and some other stuff, Lanterns. And then once the Batman Part 2 has had its day, we're going to get the DCU Batman. And it's the second best option to me. I don't love it. But it could work. It actually could work. Because it kind of seems like fans might be willing, like, maybe it's easier to explain that the one Batman is not in this universe than it is to explain why there are two Batman. to the normies, right? So I say that's the second best option, and even though I don't like it, potentially that could be the way that it all works. But I don't know. You know, I think the Easter eggs are interesting. I think the conversation around it's interesting. What Gunn is saying right now is pretty wild.